G'day, it's Rob here again. Well, today I'm going to review something I've been looking forward to for quite a while. It's a small air compressor. Well, when I say small, it's a good sized air compressor from Vevor, but in a small compact format. So it's basically one of a range of air compressors that they sell that use this particular size pump head and motor assembly, but this is on the smallest tank that they actually have, so the whole thing is portable. You can pick it up and move it around, and which is great. You know, it's very handy. And even though I've got a really big commercial or industrial grade compressor, I've got a small one as well that I use for low pressure spray painting and also blowing up car tyres and stuff. But this is in between. This looks to be a really handy size for the workshop. If you've got a workshop, you've got to have an air compressor, I think, because particularly, you know, if you're working on engines or you've got collets, you have to be able to blow out the crap out the collets, and yeah, it's super handy. And they're not that expensive now, you know, they're pretty damn good. Okay, let's open the box and see what it looks like. Right, well, here she be. And I've got to say, it's well packaged. It's got heaps of padding, polystyrene all around it. Couldn't ask for more. Looks like some instructions here and some air fittings. And there's a bag here taped on with some bits and pieces in there. We'll investigate that as well. So I'll take all this off and we'll see what she looks like. And here it is with all its wrapping off. All looks pretty good, no damage. These are the bits that were in the bag. It's the 4 feet, and there's the silencer for the air intake. So this is supposed to be a very quiet unit. And of course you get 4 nuts, and here's your connector bits and pieces for air hose if you want to use that. Right, I've got the air baffle on, the noise reducer, and I put the feet on, the rubber little feet. They're 10mm nuts, so you need a 10mm open-ended spanner to do that. A little bit fiddly getting in there, but not too bad. Looking at the baffle, the noise reducer for the air intake, I noticed that it appears to be removable, so we'll take it off. It unscrews, and yes, look, there's an air filter inside. So that's a good touch. That'll keep the nasties out and make the thing last longer. So yeah, very good. So there you have it. It's a nice, easy to pick up, move around, portable little unit. 17 kg, which most people should be able to handle okay. On the outlet side we have the standard sort of, well, pretty much normal setup for most air compressors, small air compressors these days. You've got the outlet, you've got the on-off pressure switch, so the unit would pump up to say 120 psi, then it would shut down, and then when the pressure drops as you use it to say 70 or something like that, they kick back in again, and so it just regulates, keeps the pressure within that range. This is your tank pressure gauge. This is your regulator pressure gauge. You can change that to whatever you want with this knob. Turn this knob. Now with this knob too, you can lock it down. When you get the unit, it's actually in the lock position. So, you know, if you're trying to turn it, it won't turn. You have to pull it up. Okay, so you can get trapped on that, but they all basically do that. But anyone that's not experienced with using the air regulator, yep, watch out for that. Down here you have a water trap. Once again, they mount the water trap on the very close to the tank, which isn't a good idea, but they all do it. It's on all the units you see, regardless of who makes them and who sells them. Probably because this is fairly modular. but these work best at least 2 metres away from the tank. This will work, it will catch moisture, but to work efficiently, as they rely on dew point, which is air temperature, the air going into the tank from the pump is always going to be hot. If you ever compress air, it heats up. That's how diesel engines fire and work. So you're trying to extract water from warm air. It doesn't work very well. It'll work to a point, but not brilliantly. And if you want to do spray painting, particularly, you want to have another water trap well away from the compressor. That way your air charges cool down, got to dew point. It'll take out as much moisture as it can at air temperature dew point. Okay. Overall, it's a good unit. It looks like good quality. The on-off switch is fairly stiff on it, I noticed. You've got to pull it up, push it down. Oh well, that's the way it is. You've got a tap. Now, the only thing wrong with the tap is that the little arm on it is normally horizontal, but I've bent it up on a bit of an angle so you can get in with your fingers, your thumb. I've screwed on a J-Met fitting, but you could put on Nitto or whatever you want. It's, the fitting is standard 1/2 inch BSP 18 TPI thread, so your fittings will screw straight on, and you can easily, you know, buy the ones you want and put them on. So yeah, it covers most of that. You get 1.2 metres of cord, quite good quality cord, and I have seen reviews where people have complained about the length of the cord on some of these compressors. I mean, I don't see what they're on about, because I mean, that's the same sort of length as you would get with any other power tool, you know, drill, sander, jigsaw, whatever, you know. So yeah, I have no problem with the cord length whatsoever. All right, let's see how fast she pumps up and how noisy it is. It's supposed to be 58 dB. That's pretty quiet. A lot quieter than what I've got, that's for sure. That didn't take long at all, did it? And we're looking at about 118 psi, which is plenty. And well, the regulator, you can set that to whatever you want. I'm turning it back here. All good. The water trap has got a automatic drain valve on the bottom, so that when you drain the air out of the unit or exhaust the tank, when it gets down to about, say, 2 or 3 psi, that will release off the valve seat, and it will just drain any moisture that's in the bowl out of this hole in the bottom. It's able to put a little tube on there if you want to, so if you didn't want the water just running down on the unit, you could just put a little pipe on there, a bit of hose, and run it into a tin can or something, because yeah, saves making a mess that way. As well as having electronic cutout, in case that goes wrong, there's a physical blow-off safety valve here, which you can pull the pin out, and that saves the tank exploding if things go wrong. So yeah, it's got all the features you want. It's quite safe. The tank has a drain cock on the bottom here, and a little sticker here tells you how often to do it, and it's just a finger type one. You can just undo it quite easily. Yeah, just tilt the tank over a little bit when you're draining it. It's all straightforward. So how quiet is the Vevor? Well, I've got 2 other compressors to check it against, and I'll show you what they are. First is a diaphragm type spray unit called a Spray Bee, and I use this for spray painting with a low pressure gun, blowing up car tyres. It's portable, easy to move around. It weighs pretty much the same as the Vevor, so there's not much difference, even though this is a more compact unit again, but it's got no tank, it's just direct. And the maximum pressure of this is 35 psi, and then it's got a blow-off valve, so it blows off. But it's handy, super handy for blowing up car tyres. You don't even need a pressure gauge, you just stick it on, blow them up to 35 psi, which is what I normally run them at, and it just stops pumping. Good unit. Okay, what's the other one? Okay, this is the main workhorse in the shed. This is an 8 CFM, 50 litre tank compressor. It's Swedish, and it's got 1 3/4 horsepower motor on it, and it will do most things with air tools, but you know, it's on the lower end of the scale for some of them. You know, the golden rule with air tools is bigger is better. You've got air tools, you want the biggest compressor you can afford to run or get, and that way they won't run out of puff, you know. But you know, you see adverts saying yes, it will run power tools, you know, air tools, but for how long before the pressure drops? That's the critical factor. So tank size is very important, and pumping ability is also very important. So yeah, this is a good workshop size. It was very expensive to buy. We've had it for probably 50 years and it's still going strong. Once again, another good unit. Alright, let's take some sound measurements now. We'll do the big 8 cubic foot industrial grade compressor first. We'll see what that measures. Now we'll measure the little Binks Bellows single piston diaphragm unit. See what that comes up with. Now we'll do the Vevor and see how that compares. Now all those readings were taken at the same distance, I'd say approximately 9 foot away, so 3 metres. It's generally accepted that a 10 dB difference is a doubling of sound if it's a 10 dB increase. So in this case, as the Vevor is much quieter than the others, by actually a bit more than 10 dB, you could say that it's effectively half as loud as the other two, which is quite impressive. But it's not all about dB, it's also about frequency. And a lower frequency noise will be a lot easier on the ear, and in this case the Vevor is definitely the lower frequency. It's much lower than even the other diaphragm compressor, the Binks Bellows, which was the loudest in dB as well. And of course the piston, mechanical piston, heavy duty 8 CFM unit has got that rat-a-tat-a-tat noise that those metal piston compressors all do, all put out, and yeah, that's pretty aggravating in the shed. So you could say the Vevor wins out on both points, dB and also frequency. Much more pleasant units to live with. So, given its size, what do I think of it? What would it run? I think it's a great little unit. It's definitely better than my Binks Bellows, and you know, you can't have it both ways. You can't have portability and capacity, you know. It just doesn't work. Bigger is going to be better, but bigger is going to be heavier, cost more to run, take longer to pump up. It's horses for courses. This would be brilliant for people wanting a nail gun, you know. If you're using a nail gun doing framing regularly, this would be absolutely perfect because it's got high pressure and it's got some tank volume. It would run a nail gun absolutely brilliantly. Blowing up car tyres, inflating things, yep. I mean, they advertise this as an inflator. So, you know, they say it will run air tools, and it will, but of course, you know, in short bursts, anything that's got a long continuous drain on it, like say a die grinder, it would soon run down. And even those little pencil die grinders, you'd be surprised how much air they use. I mean, air tools really do gulp up the air like you wouldn't believe. But to give an idea of how it would go with, say, an impact wrench or air chisel, I'll fire up my air chisel, which is also an air needle descaler. So here we go. So you could hear it was running down, but it would do the job if you were, say, deslagging some weld or something like that. And if you were using a rattle gun, well, it would undo nuts. You know, you've got to pause between nuts. So, yeah, it would do the job, but you have to be mindful that it can't do what a big one can do. You know, it's as simple as that. Of course, most of the time you're going to be using it for an air duster, and of course it's going to be brilliant for that. Pretty cool little unit. Okay, here's some specs on it. So there you have it, for anyone that wants a compact, truly portable air compressor of this size and capability, one you can easily put in your car or move around, carry around the property. This is pretty hard to beat. And, you know, for under $200 Australian, I think that's pretty damn good value compared to what else is out there. It's quiet, it won't annoy the neighbours, and it will do most things that you want to do in a workshop. Compact. So you can shove it under the bench or do what you like, but it's certainly very manageable and it's a nice unit. A link to the product is in the video description, and there's also a code there, discount code, that you can use on any Vevor product in the Vevor store. So yeah, I hope you found it interesting, and yeah, I recommend this. It's a top little unit. Okay, see you next time. Cheers.